Hey drummers and those aspiring to be drummers, or maybe just those curious who are curious. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the hi-hat, and I'm just going to go over a few things. I think people should know about the hi-hat. Well, what is the hi-hat? Well, it's these two cymbals, and they kind of press the pedal down and they click together like that. It's as simple as that. Okay, I'm done. No. What I would like to do is to show you maybe a little bit about how to set one of those up so you get a good sound out of it. Maybe talk about how you can, how important the hi-hat is to drum set, and just tips and tricks I learned along the way. First, I'm going to actually show you. I have an old stand here. I need to fix this stand. It's stripped out. Maybe that will be another video if I can figure out how to do that. I think I've stripped out a hole, so I think I'm gonna have to do in here, strip that out on a gig. That was really sad. I think I can put a insert in there, a helicoil, and put it in there. If anybody has any info on that, or actually if anybody has a vintage Tama wingnut T-bolt thing, let me know in the comments. I think somebody on eBay wanted like 25 bucks for it. Man. So this is a hi-hat stand, my beloved Tama from a long time ago. And this is where the bottom cymbal sits on this. You have this little black piece here, and you have a flat disc that goes on top, and then you can actually get a little winder there that can give it a little more leverage, and this filter goes on there, and then you take one of these, this is my practice cymbal again, sticks on there, and then you put your top on there now. And I have my regular hi-hats set up here. So then you would have the hi-hat clutch, and that's the thing that holds a hi-hat. It's a pretty important piece. Now this is kind of the traditional style that most stands would come with. It has a bottom nut, two of these felt washers, and then if you can look real close, two opposing little nuts that you can use your hands on them. So you would take this off like that, take the felt off, take your cymbal, stick it on there, stick that on there, and then voila, you've got it. Now, then you want to adjust it. So with this style, where you have the two nuts, you want to snug it down, but not too snug, and I can get into that a little bit. You don't want to go too snug. You're just not going to get as good of a sound if you make it so it can't move at all. I mean, you'd have to go really tight, I guess, but I've done that before where it was too tight, and then the cymbal couldn't move quite enough, and so you didn't get a very good sound. And then you have this top nuts, and then you can kind of cinch them together, and then hopefully you're gonna be okay. Now I use these for years. This is my Tama one. I have one that came with this stand is a Yamaha stand. But a number of years ago, I was shown this beauty. I really like this. This has really changed. So the big problem I've had with these is even if you cinch the nuts together, it still gets loose, and then you're playing on a really long gig, and your hi-hat cymbal is just really loose, and it's just really flopping around, and you're trying to play. Obviously you're not going like that. You're pushing with on your stand, and then you're sad. So I was hip to this by Jerry Garcia. Not the Jerry Garcia, but in Seattle he is kind of the Jerry Garcia. He was ran the Seattle Drum Shop. Builds pretty well known for building drums. I think he's still around. So I was at his house one day because he started working out of his garage, and I saw this and I thought, wow, that changes everything. So what I have, of course, it's supposed to be easier, but what I have is the Tay. The brand is Tay, and there's a couple of different variations on the brand, but Tay is a Taiwanese drum maker, and Ray Ayotte from, well, he's most well known. He's had a number of drum innovations, but he had the Ayotte Drum Company. He's up in Canada, came up with this. So I don't think he came up with the spring. I think I've seen that on some earlier clutches. But you can, this is spring loaded. You just go like this, pop that off, stick that on there. And of course it's, on camera it's not as easy. And then you can fine tune. You don't have any lock nut, you just have the spring. I just love that thing. Now I've had this one for a number of years. You'll see I have some tape on there. I had this wing nut actually fell off at one point, so I actually JB welded it on, and I put some tape just to be sure, but it hasn't caused any problems. And then the spring on that's kind of wearing out, so it's a little bit harder to do, to put it together. But I love this thing. I played, like I said, most stands come with that, or some of them have memory locks. I'm not a memory lock guy super often. I mean, I do use them on a few things here, but it's just not how I roll. This gives you just a really nice, not too tight, and it's the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, not too tight and not too loose. And then when you're done with your gig, you just, well, of course, again, I'm on camera and I can't do it, but pop it off, and then now I didn't really want to sell this, but I will put a link in there if you want to check it out. I found 3 different brands. Remo has a brand. Tay, yeah, I'm having trouble today. That's funny. So this one's, like I said, this is probably 10 years old. So it's kind of wearing out a little bit. And then, so I was mentioning earlier that you want to have, or that you can have, I was just mentioning that you can adjust the level. Now you might be asking, well, why do I need to adjust the level? Maybe you already know the answer. If you do, you can answer in the comments. Basically, I don't know if you did 2 cymbals together straight, obviously these aren't real cymbals, but at a certain point you get kind of the suction sound, and you don't really get that good of a sound. Same like if you played crash cymbals ever. I don't know if you ever noticed, but they're, they have a little bit of a, when people are playing crash cymbals, I can't hold it with straps, but they don't play it straight normally. They have a little bit of a tilt. That way you don't get that suction sound, and it sounds better. So that's that. So you tilt that up a little bit. Now those are a little bit fiddly, those little adjusters. In fact, I think I've had to replace the nut on mine, and it disappears on this old one, my trusty old one that I need to fix. So you pop this. Now I saw another video, somebody was showing how, next you gotta adjust how far away you are. Now there's a lot of variety of opinion on this, and I think it's kind of up to what you think. Video I saw earlier, the guy, had 1 finger length. So I don't even know how to do that. How do you do that? 1 finger length. Now I think 1 finger length for me is a little bit too low. I know there was a pretty well-known jazz drummer in Seattle, Greg Williamson, I think it was Williamson. He puts his like super high, and then you can do that. But now he's doing jazz. I typically, you know, I'm maybe like 1.5 or 2 fingers high, or to where it sounds good. So, and you can do, there's a lot of things besides even using your foot that you can do with the hi-hat. Of course, you have your sticks. And the way you use the foot, you can do it kind of practice. Maybe sometime I'll get a foot camera, show how I use that. Another common thing is you can, like a sling pattern, you can do with your hands. Something like that. You can, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So in jazz, this is really a big timekeeper. You're playing on the 2 and 4 most of the time. You know, that's what, if you're in a big band, for example, that's the thing. If you're Elvin Jones and you're in a small combo, you don't need to do that. He does his own things. Now, if you're playing Latin music, you're still providing a time component, but you're actually kind of mimicking other instruments. And so one example would be in Afro-Cuban music or Cuban music. Now, there's some guys you probably should go check. Horacio Negro Hernandez was one that I remember watching when I was a kid, or younger, I guess I should say. So, and he does all kinds of crazy stuff. But on the, typically speaking on the hi-hat, you maybe be mimicking a cascara groove. So if I had a timbali, a set of timbales, I don't. The person playing the timbales would play this on the shells. Now on drum set. So that is mimicking that on the hi-hat for that kind of music. And I did an earlier video where I was showing my hi-hat shaker, my hi-hat shaker translation, where I took a shaker sound. And this is my high-tech mozzarella shaker, mozzarella container shaker with some popcorn kernels in it. I don't gig with this. You probably could. So then we have this. And then, you know, of course, rock. I had my even earlier video where I was showing how you could use the shoulder and the tip. To get a little bit of different sounds. You could even simulate a triangle. Let's see if I can actually do it. Probably should have thought about that before I started recording it. So that might be for like a Brazilian Baião style rhythm. So those are just a few of the things. Obviously, I did the jazz. My favorite. Obviously, you can do this. For my money, I get, at least my setup, or maybe my skill, I get too much of that chick sound that I don't necessarily want. You know, other thing for hi-hats, you have a lot of stabs, as they kind of call